In my lifetime, I hope to overcome my fears. Fear is so common, yet it's not a topic we talk about. Instead, we just keep it to ourselves. It's time we don't. It's time to overcome our fears. A phobia is a form of anxiety disorder that is characterized by an intense and irrational fear that poses no real threat. Whereas a fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the threat of real danger, pain, or harm. This quote made my fear seem so small, a feeling that I could change and control. You can conquer almost any fear if you will only make up your mind to do so. For remember, fear doesn't exist anywhere apart from your mind, by Dale Carnegie. An estimated 9% of Americans, this is more than 19 million people, have one specific phobia, and 2/3 of this have more than one specific phobia. Put your hand up if you have any of my fears. Pteromohanophobia, fear of flying. Claustrophobia, fear of enclosed spaces. Entomophobia, fear of insects. Cynophobia, fear of dogs. Arachnophobia, fear of spiders. Opidiophobia, fear of snakes. And lastly, acrophobia, fear of heights. If you have ever thought that you would rather die than have to speak in public, you may not be alone. According to a ranking on common phobias, a fear of public speaking was found to be a more pressing concern than death, an insidious fear, I know. Why we feel fear. Fear is a chain reaction in the brain that starts with a stressful stimulus and ends with the release of chemicals that causes a racing heart, fast breathing, and energized muscles. Among other things, it is known as the fight or flight response. The stimulus could be a spider, a knife for your throat, the sudden thud of your front door against the door frame, or even an auditorium full of people for you to give a TED talk to. The brain is an exceedingly complex organ. More than 100 billion nerve cells make up the intricate network of communications that is the starting point of everything we sense, think, and do. Some of these transmissions lead to conscious thought and action, while others produce involuntary responses. We don't deliberately trigger it or even know what's going on until it has run its course. Isn't it weird to think fear is just a chemical reaction? Fear is an emotion that has the ability to stop us in our tracks or cause us to run away from the things we most desire. However, the fear we're running from may not actually be real. Fear can be 100% imaginary. The problem with fear is that most people cling to them because it becomes part of who they are. If you aren't ready to face your fears, you probably won't transcend them, and there's nothing wrong in that. Everything happens in its own time. Before you can begin overcoming fear, you have to be aware that your fears can stop you living your life to the fullest. It's easy to get so attached to your thoughts and feelings that you think they are all that exist, which couldn't be further from truth. You are not your fears, you are the awareness that experiences it. I know that my fears are just phobias. They are created by my imagination to make reality seem scarier than it is. But when you take action and face these fears, you realize that reality isn't nearly as bad as your wild imagination. 6 easy steps to overcoming your fears. Number 1, take time out. It's impossible to think clearly when you're flooded with fear or anxiety. So take a break, do some exercise, or anything that will make you feel relaxed. Number 2, breathe through panic. If you start to get a faster heartbeat or sweating palms, then the best thing is not to fight it and to let it run its course. Number 3, face your fears. Really look at them and see them for what they actually are, made up by your imagination to scare you. Number 4, imagine the worst. Studies show that pilots are told to imagine the worst case scenario in every possible situation. So if we do that, we'll always come out with a better outcome. Number 5, don't try to be perfect. You're not going to overcome your fear the first time you try to overcome it. But if you do, well then you're lucky. It's going to take many attempts, but that's okay, because as long as you keep trying, you will eventually overcome that fear. And number 6, talk about it. Talk about it with a friend, family member, or anyone you trust. Because if they have the same fear as you, chances are you can help each other overcome it. As Nelson Mandela once said, our deepest fear is not that we are weak. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. So don't let your fears own you. You should own your own fears. Be empowered, inspired, and change the world, as only then will you feel like you're incredible. Thank you.